Nick Diaz in his prime would put a pace on people that they could not fucking keep up with.
Yeah.
And he would be hitting them like 50, 60%. And then every now and then he'd dig. Every now and then he'd dig.
To the body in particular.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that prime Nick Diaz was one of the best fighters of all time. Boxing, cardio, chin, aura, everything you could hope for in a fighter, Nick Diaz in his prime had. He was robbed of his prime by getting drugged in the GSP fight and testing positive for weed and getting banned for 5 years. Absolute BS. So in today's video, we're going to add to the legacy of Nick Diaz by just putting some extra W's on his resume. Or maybe some losses, we'll see. We're going to go through some fighters, ranking them on how they would do against prime Nick Diaz. Starting with Conor McGregor in Roadhouse. This is a key component to this Conor McGregor. We've seen many different versions of Conor McGregor. We've seen him in his featherweight rise. We've seen him in Cage Warriors. We've seen him at lightweight. We've seen him against Floyd Mayweather. Seen him nice guy, Dustin Poirier. Seen him cokehead McGregor. This is kind of a mix of cokehead McGregor and a fictional character that McGregor plays in a Roadhouse. Absolutely corner stoppage going into the fourth. Because when you think about it, Conor, a little bit bigger here, probably not in fight shape. He's been acting. He's been doing movie shit for 12 hours a day. You take prime Nick Diaz and you put him in a cage with Conor McGregor at this time in his life. McGregor, I think, is tough enough to survive until the third or the fourth, but he's getting beat on after 2 minutes in the first round, 2 minutes of landing some good hard shots. Diaz cut up, maybe. Who cares? Smiling at him, saying, "Come here, dog. What you got?" And walking him down, ripping his body. Stoppage going into the fourth round. Next, we've got Francis Ngannou after his fight with Stipe Miocic. You see, if you can look closely, this is directly after his fight with Stipe, and it's a first-round termination for Nick Diaz because Ngannou is absolutely gassed, and Stipe didn't know how to go to the body, so Diaz would go to the body, rip his body, big nasty hooks, prime Nick Diaz, easy first-round termination. Ngannou probably taps, honestly, pretty early on. Next up, we got Bronny James. Yeah, if you put Nick Diaz in a octagon with prime Bronny James, it's not great. There's a couple of jokes that could be made here, but I'm not going to make them. Shout out Bronny James. He's killing it in the G League, but Nick Diaz in his prime, come on now. Next up is Bigfoot Silva, and you know how they always say there's weight classes for a reason. Yeah, it's because he'd survive against prime Nick Diaz, but he'd get smoked for 5 rounds straight. Again, early on, might be a little dangerous. Diaz might eat a few shots, might get tagged a couple times on the feet. Bigfoot, big dude, has the reach advantage, hits hard. Prime Nick Diaz, he's not going to get chinned. What are we talking about? So this is the only reason that Bigfoot would survive is because his head is so giant. This is prime Bigfoot Silva too. So Diaz would be peppering him from the halfway point of round 1 all the way to round 5, but Bigfoot would be surviving, but it would be probably a significant strike record, like 724 significant strikes landed against Bigfoot Silva for Nick Diaz. So with that in mind, there are weight classes for a reason, you know. Next up, we've got Jeff Nowitzki. Yeah, come on now. First round detonation. I don't know if it was Jeff Nowitzki who actually went through with the ban on Diaz, the 5-year weed ban. Do we even have to talk about this? This guy is a nerd. Sorry. All right, next, Meth Diaz. This is actually pretty sad because we all want Nick Diaz to fight again, even though he's super old. Wait, let me rephrase that. We don't want Nick Diaz to fight if he's out of shape and doing meth and shirtless in the grass, like he was caught on video. There's been some speculation if this is even him or whatever the case may be. But going on, this is him. Come on. If we're doing prime Nick Diaz against this version of Nick Diaz, we all love Nick. Actually, even meth Nick Diaz would survive because he's got a chin sent from the heavens of Stockton, California. So, no, he wouldn't go out. Let's not be silly here. But he would survive. And actually, wait a second. Meth Nick Diaz? That sounds like a mythical fighter. Remember when Anthony Smith had to fight off that meth head who broke into his house? And the dude survived for like 30 minutes? Or something crazy? It wasn't 30 minutes. It was some, like, Anthony Smith did an interview. Crazy story. And he, like, kept taking shots. Did we just make prime Nick Diaz's chin better? I still don't think he wins, but he definitely survives because that's ridiculous. That's like unfair. Shouldn't be allowed. Next up, we got Dexter Morgan. If you guys know the show Dexter, serial killer, pretty solid combat skills guy. Like when he gets in fights in the series, he does pretty well. He's got solid grappling. He kills people with guns, and he has nothing but usually just like some horse tranquilizer, whatever he does. But come on now, prime Nick Diaz against a guy who doesn't even know how to box. First round determination. No tables here, Dexter. And Dexter wouldn't get by the commission. Jeff Nowitzki would stop Dexter before he came in with the horse tranquilizer. This is an even fight. Nobody's got weapons. We're in the octagon. Yeah, come on. Speaking of Jeff Nowitzki, Dirk Nowitzki. Maybe he could avenge his long-lost cousin. No, he can't. Absolutely not. Dirk Nowitzki is so unathletic, and we're not shooting 3-pointers here. We're fighting to the death with prime Nick Diaz going against you. There's literally no way Dirk Nowitzki would win. He's 7 feet tall, super skinny. His knees would buckle as soon as Nick Diaz wouldn't even throw leg kicks because he'd have some mercy. He'd just box him up. First round. Termination. Prime Tony Ferguson now. This is tough. Prime Tony Ferguson. I'm just putting him here to think about it, because prime Tony has those elbows, and we know Diaz gets cut pretty easy. So if there are doctors around the octagon here, then we might be in some trouble. But I think this could be a close fight. There could be rounds that go back and forth, but I don't have a tier for that. So I think Diaz, I think Ferguson has to go in the smokes him for 5 rounds. How'd he survive? Because Ferguson's tough. Ferguson's not going out. Prime Tony, come on. Eating head kicks off of Lando Venata. Straight shin to dome. As he's like falling over, he eats a shin to the face. So, no, Tony Ferguson's not going out. But he'll probably cut him a few times, and that would bother Diaz. But then Diaz would be like, once Diaz sees red, whew, it's over. GSP. This is, yeah, I can't even BS. I'm a Canadian. I got to put GSP in the loses 50-45, but if there were no rounds, he would have finished him. And plus, he got drugged before the fight. It's true. So, Nick Diaz lost every round convincingly, just got held down, ground and pound, maybe even out-truck a little bit. But if there were no rounds, Diaz obviously wins. Obviously. So, like, GSP can take his little victory and go on to be like the GOAT or whatever, but we really know what the case is. Sam Alvey. Yeah. when we're talking about the heavyweight champion of karate combat and one of the greatest light heavyweights and middleweights of all time, that's not even, what are we talking about? We all know that would happen. LeBron James trying to avenge his son. Yeah, come on. You're not avenging shit. I don't care if you go in there with Bronny. You and Bronny in there together. I should have done that, actually. I should have put them together, like little picture together as one. First round termination. LeBron, come on. He's flopping. He's trying to get a foul call. You're not the GOAT in this sport. GSP is, but we all know Nick Diaz really is. Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is pretty tough, but he would be gassing out. And I think it would get stopped going into the fourth. He's not used to those 5-round MMA rounds, and he's not used to Diaz's pace. No one's used to the pace of Nick Diaz in his prime. No one. It's an absolute mad pace that only Nick Diaz can hold. So your only chance is to KO him like Sam Alvey, but no one has Sam Alvey's power. So it's not even really a competition. Tyson Fury, probably. John throws in the towel at the end of the third, says, you're not going to get it done. You've already lost to Usyk twice. You could even put Fury in his prime undefeated, just beat Wilder for the third time. It's not going to change much. The body, like, I don't care how fat you are, Diaz's body shots are going to penetrate through the skin and just sap your energy, and you're just going to be sitting there getting beat down. Moving on, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Yeah, he fits in that tier as well. Khabib likes to fight in a way that wins him fights for sure. But Diaz likes to fight in a way that puts people on death's row, you know? Nick Diaz, when he's done with you, you're never the same, right? Like, unless you employ a game plan similar to GSP's or Khabib's, where you're taking Diaz down and luckily avoiding submissions, then you're gonna be altered for life. Like, think about all the people below that. All of their lives would be altered, and it would just be horrible. Obviously, Sam Alvey, you could KO him, but no one's got that power. Last but not least, we've got Walter White. Come on, man. Walter White. Get him in the first round termination. Like, he might even get terminated before he even gets into the octagon because he's got cancer. He's got lung cancer, doesn't he? Like, coughs. Come on. We're not even talking about a fair fight here. This isn't fair. We could put everyone in the first round termination together. Maybe Dexter. Dexter could come in there and employ a game plan because he's a very smart guy. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching.